Let's dive deep into personal lines insurance today. Specifically, we're looking at auto, homeowners, and umbrella coverage. And we've got this fantastic industry report packed with trends and what execs are thinking. It's like getting a sneak peek behind the curtain, seeing what really affects the market and our premiums.
What I find really interesting is how this report calls out a victory for auto insurance. It seems like profitability is looking pretty good for a lot of insurers.
Okay, but what does that actually mean for us? Like less pain in our wallets?
Well, maybe not celebratory donuts, but it could mean they're less likely to hike up rates. This report highlights some really strong combined ratios. Progressive is sitting at 87.7% year to date, and Geico's at a solid 81.7%.
Wow, those numbers do sound good. So, are we in the clear for auto insurance? Is it all smooth sailing from here?
Well, not so fast. The report also points to tariffs and inflation as potential troublemakers, even with those great combined ratios. And a lot of carriers are reporting ratios about 10 points lower than last year.
That's where things get interesting. I can definitely see how tariffs and inflation could mess things up. Can you break it down for us?
Sure, think about the auto supply chain for a second. Tariffs on imported parts, that could mean way higher repair costs. And then inflation just throws gasoline on the fire, so to speak. If those costs keep going up, insurers will probably have to raise premiums to keep up.
So, like the report says, kind of a Debbie Downer situation. This victory might be short-lived if those outside forces really hit us.
Exactly. We can't just ignore those pressures.
It really makes you wonder if those great combined ratios will last. But let's switch gears to homeowners insurance for a minute. It seems like rate increases are stabilizing a bit, but they're still pretty high, around 10%.
Yeah, that's right. What's interesting here is how price-sensitive people are, or aren't. Why do homeowners seem okay with these rate increases compared to, say, auto insurance?
Well, for me, my house is my biggest asset. Of course, I want to protect it.
You got it. The report actually quotes Allstate's CEO, Tom Wilson. He says homeowners just aren't as sensitive to price hikes for this kind of coverage. Homes are valuable, and people are usually willing to pay to protect them.
Plus, finding a new homeowner's policy, it's such a hassle, especially when the bank gets involved.
Absolutely. Limited options, high switching costs, they all contribute to this lower price elasticity for homeowners insurance. It's funny, for years we've been trying to get academics interested in studying price elasticity in insurance, but
No luck.
no one wants to touch it.
Well, hey, maybe there's a research opportunity for one of our brilliant listeners out there. It really makes you think, is homeowners insurance worth it, even with these high premiums? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a big question for sure. But let's shift gears a bit and look at the problem child, you could say, in the personal lines world,
Oh, no.
umbrella insurance.
Oh, yeah, the report didn't exactly paint a rosy picture for that one.
Nope, not at all. They actually use the word hemorrhaging to describe what's going on in the umbrella market. We're seeing a lot of what we call adverse reserve development.
Okay. For those of us who don't speak insurance, what does that actually mean?
Basically, it means insurers messed up. Kinda. They underestimated how much those future claims were going to cost. So now they're having to pay out way more than they planned. And that's leading to some pretty hefty rate increases. We're talking 15, 20%, maybe even more.
Ouch, that hurts. So umbrella insurance is getting pricey and fast. But, you'd think that people who have enough assets to need an umbrella policy wouldn't be too bothered by a few $100 more for, peace of mind.
That's what's so fascinating. The report actually highlights RLI, a company that focuses specifically on umbrella insurance. And they're doing great, thriving even.
Wait, hold on. Other companies are struggling, but RLI is doing well. How does that work?
Well, their COO, Jennifer Klobnak, she says it's because they have a standalone product. And because other carriers are so busy dealing with homeowners and auto issues, they've found their niche and they're running with it.
So maybe this whole price sensitivity thing is more complicated than we thought.
It definitely makes you think about how consumers behave and what different types of insurance are actually worth to them.
It makes me think back to those tariffs and inflation we talked about earlier. Could those things eventually spill over into homeowners and umbrella, too?
That's a great question. It's definitely possible. I mean, if inflation keeps going up, it could raise the cost of everything. Rebuilding homes after a disaster, settling liability claims, you name it. And that would probably push premiums higher across the board.
So maybe that victory in auto insurance is just the calm before the storm, huh?
Yeah, it's a good reminder that the insurance market never stands still. What looks good today might not be so great tomorrow. That's why it's so important to stay informed, Understand what's driving these changes.
Okay, let's do a quick recap of what we've covered today. Auto insurance is looking up, profits are good, but tariffs and inflation could ruin the party. Homeowners insurance rates are stabilizing, but they're still high. And we talked about why homeowners might be less sensitive to those price hikes. And then there's umbrella insurance, which is facing some tough times, although RLI seems to be doing just fine.
Exactly. And all of this just shows how connected everything is in the insurance world. What happens in one area can definitely impact the others.
Yeah, and you know what really struck me about this whole report? It's like so much focus on the bottom line, profits, combined ratios. It's easy to forget that insurance is really about, people protecting the things that matter most to them.
Yeah, absolutely. We get caught up in the numbers, but at the end of the day, it's about peace of mind, right? Knowing you're covered if something bad happens. And that's why these things like tariffs and inflation are so scary. They could really mess with that sense of security, not just for auto insurance, but for everything. Totally. If those costs keep rising, it's going to have a ripple effect. Claims costs go up, premiums go up. It could hit every line of insurance.
Which is why it's so important to, stay informed. You can't just set it and forget it with your insurance.
Right, exactly. You got to keep up with these trends, see how they might affect you. Don't be afraid to ask questions, talk to your agent, your insurer. Really understand what you're paying for.
Well said. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to protecting what's important.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that about wraps it up for our deep dive into personal lines insurance. Hopefully you found it helpful, gave you some things to think about
as you navigate this crazy, ever-changing insurance world. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll catch you next time. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay protected.